Hi friends, and welcome to the Healthy Beyond 40 show. I'm Michele, mama 4 and military wife, and I'm passionate about helping women get healthy from the inside out so they can feel better and live their best life. Do you feel like you're struggling to lose weight and get in shape? If you're ready to develop healthier habits, exercise consistently, and lose weight sustainably, then you're in the right place. I combine my expertise from my doctorate in physical therapy to my experience as a health coach, personal trainer, and yoga teacher to bring you actionable steps for a healthy lifestyle. No magic pill here, so lace up those shoes and get moving. So I'm so excited for this podcast today. This is going to be a live coaching call. So if you can relate to being stressed, tired, and craving sugar, you're going to want to listen to this. So Rachel was so brave to come on the podcast and share what she's currently struggling with. And I think so many of you will relate. This is part 1. It's going to be 2 episodes. And in today's episode, we're going to be diving into some big stuff like stress, exhaustion, and even how too much exercise can actually be working against you. We're going to talk about how to exercise in a way that actually supports your body instead of stressing it out more. And yes, we'll also be getting into that 3 o'clock afternoon slump that so many women over 40 are dealing with. So you're going to walk away with some eye-opening takeaways and practical steps that you can use. And your solution or your habits may be different than what Rachel's here, but I want you guys to tune in and listen to the coaching and the questions that I am asking her and see what your takeaway can be. It's not always the same thing. There's not like this perfect recipe for everybody. We have to really understand where we are and what we need in this moment. And as you're listening, you might think maybe I could actually use some health coaching. Maybe Michele can see something that I'm not seeing right now. And if that's you, I'd love to chat with you. There's going to be a link in the description where you can set up a free health coaching call. We'll just talk about your struggles, start to uncover some of those missing pieces, and figure out what your next steps are. This is a no pressure call and one that will help move forward without adding more stress. I'm going to keep it simple, doable, and practical for you. So if you've been on the fence about getting some extra support, I encourage you to just reach out, set up that free call, and see if it's a fit for you. I also want to encourage you that if one-to-one coaching isn't the thing for you right now, check out my course, the self-coaching system. It's super affordable. It's going to walk you through all the mindset and emotional tools that I use in coaching that can help you deal with uncomfortable feelings. Because let's be honest, when you're bored and you reach for food, or you've had an argument and head to the pantry for food for comfort, those are just uncomfortable emotions that are showing up. And when you have the tools to handle those uncomfortable feelings and shift your thoughts, you'll feel so much more freedom and you won't stay stuck in the same old cycles. So there's going to be a link in the description to the self-coaching system. And that might be that missing piece that you need to start losing weight, getting healthy, and finally feeling better. All right, friends, let's dive into this episode. All right. So today I'm so excited to have Rachel on the podcast. So welcome to the show, Rachel, and feel free to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm mom to 4 kids. I have 3 of my own and then my stepson. I work as an ER nurse and I've been a charge nurse for about 5 years. So my job's pretty stressful. And then my husband's a firefighter. So it's difficult with our schedules to, get to spend time together. And our family time is also, it's difficult because we're a blended family.
Absolutely. So a busy ER nurse, a mom to 4. So tell us how this has been playing out in your health the last few years.
So we bought our house about 4 years ago and got married. And so with my older kids, it's a little bit of a challenge with being in a blended family, but we all love each other. And for the most part, everybody gets along and whatnot. Like I said, my career is very stressful. I love my job, though. I love helping people and I love teaching my nurses and leading them. So it is a good job. It is stressful. A lot of things that are affected also is outside stressors, like my mom being really, really sick. So she's got stage 4 terminal cancer, and it's been very difficult because her and I are very, very close. And my parents, for the most part, helped me raise my kids. So it's been difficult.
Yeah, that sounds really hard. And so sorry to hear about your mom. And so What do you think your top struggles are in your health? Sort of like those things that are getting in the way of you really doing what you want to and feeling the way you want to.
I think just because we are so busy, it is difficult to have time for myself. And I think probably since November, I've worked out consistently every single day. And
Nice.
I really haven't seen much of a I guess weight loss, health fitness standpoint, a whole lot of improvement. I mean, there's differences that I see in my body, but it's more, I guess, what you see on the outside. I don't feel any less stressed. I feel
Hmm.
exhausted. So, when I work, I'm usually getting up at by 2 o'clock in the morning. I have to be at my job by 6. I have to get up at 2 and I'll drink my pre-workout and then I'll do a workout and then I walk my dogs. I have 3 big German Shepherd mixed dogs that need to get walked, and then I'll empty out the dishwasher, make breakfast, kind of clean up, and then go to work. And I'm after 12 hours of working, I'm home and I'm tired. Like, it's really difficult. I try to meal plan. Sometimes we just order pizza. I kind of fall off the bandwagon with the food part of it. And when my husband's on duty, when I get home, I'm also in charge of, making sure the kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing, especially his son. His son is the youngest, so he needs a lot more guidance than the older kids, of course. And in terms of cooking, cleaning, bedtime, and then by the time I get into bed, I'm done. I'm tired.
Yeah, I sound exhausted too, just listening to that. I'm like a 2 a.m. wake up. Like sometimes I struggle at 6 a.m. And so when you work 12s, are you working back to back typically?
My schedule's a little bit scattered. This schedule is a little bit better. I've tried to ensure that I'm working at least my 3 days in a row, and I'll have a little bit of a time gap in between because I really feel like I need that. In the past, it's been really hard for me to be able to do that because my husband and we've tried to alternate our schedules. So if he's at work, I'm home, and vice versa because of childcare. And then we also hired somebody to help us pick up and drop off and kind of take the kids to the activities if we're both working. So it actually gives me some freedom to be able to kind of group my days together.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you like hired help. You got people to help because so often
Yeah.
we avoid that. So if someone's listening, add some help to your house if you need it. And so when you're talking about workouts, tell me what you're currently doing.
So I was following, I don't know if you know her, Michele Thomas, and I felt like she had a pretty good cardio and strength training workout. Typically her cardio is like 20 to 30 minutes, and then her strength training, weight training is about 30 minutes. And so I would try to combine them in the morning to get them done. I think maybe I overdid it because my body was super sore. I don't think I was giving my body recovery time. And I feel like my sleep was really impacted by it. So probably about 2 weeks ago, I switched over to Pilates, like an online Pilates. I thought it would be easier. It's a little bit, it's a lot lower impact, but I'm just, like I said, I think maybe I'm just not giving myself enough time in between to recover. But I'm actually more sore doing the Pilates than what I was doing before. And it's just super frustrating. That I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older or whatnot. So, and then I
Yeah.
gained a little bit of weight, which just is frustrating when you're working out every single day.
Yeah. And definitely we want to make sure that we're giving our bodies the time to recover. And when it comes to exercise, we really want a little bit of exercise and we want a lot of movement. So when it comes to, especially before I hopped on this call with you, I was talking to a person just doing a free call. And, she said she hasn't worked out. She walks, but she hasn't worked out in a long time. She's like, I'm afraid I'm going to get super sore. I'm like, when we actually start, we're going to start with about 10-minute workouts. And I want it to be easy the first couple weeks. That way we're not getting so sore. So some soreness is good, but we don't want to get over sore. And I also think when you have a lot of stress, so it sounds like this is a high stress time in your life, sometimes doing cardio and those types of things can make us feel more stressed. So my husband's in the military, so we moved and we moved recently. And when I'm going through periods of higher stress, I tend to lean more on yoga than like my strength training because I know I just feel better when I do that. So it sounds like you're starting to. So definitely keep listening to your body. And when I said we want to exercise a little, like I would do 30 minutes or less a day, plus your movement or walking. And so some people also find that cardio doesn't necessarily help them lose weight. So when we're doing, and so I'm not talking walking, but like where our heart rate's up high type of cardio, and it does create a little more stress in our body. For some people, they're not going to see that weight loss effect because they're going to be hungry after. So when we do cardio, and like HIIT, sometimes you can do for like 10 minutes, but when it starts to go longer, like closer to 30, or some people do an hour, like then I get hungry afterwards. And then I'm dealing with like these hunger hormones and those other things. So that's why we want to keep that exercise, like that strength training, to small and a lot of movement. And it sounds like the switch you made, I think sounds like that might be a good switch. And you could still do some strength training in there, like mixed with Pilates. Yeah. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, like I said, like when I switched over, I really thought that like I would feel, I don't know, more energized. Like Pilates just seems like it's lower intensity than what I was doing. And I just feel like I've put on some pounds. I guess it's just frustrating that I'm even like more sore doing the Pilates, and I'm not the most flexible. So maybe that's part of it, because it is, it's a lot of stretching with your body weight. So my body's just not used to it. But it's really easy for me to get into the spiral of, well, I'm just getting old and maybe I should just, just stick to walking or whatever. Because I think it was probably about 7 years ago, I followed this other lady and I lost like 68 pounds over an 8-month period. And I felt great. But I was thinking about doing that again, but her like nutrition plan, it's very, very work intensive. I mean, I would be in the kitchen having to meal prep and whatnot. And I really feel like I don't necessarily have the time. And then the other part of it is I really don't want to like be an example for my kids that you have to go through this extreme, strict nutrition thing in order to be happy. Like I want our meals at home to be healthy, but that everybody is going to be able to be eating, just to kind of be a good example, because I really don't want an eating disorder or to the kids to think that, that's a good way to lose weight or to live. Like,
yeah. And if you even think about it, you did this program before and it sounds like you didn't maintain it.
no.
So even though it sort of worked in the short term, it's not something that you can sustain long term. And it goes back to that idea of healthier habits. Like, can I just change my portion size? Can I add just 30 minutes of exercise? And I will also say how you mentioned, since switching to the Pilates, you put on a few pounds. I would also be curious, since you cut doing the cardio, you're probably the calories you're burning is less, and you might potentially be eating the same amount. Do you think that's possible?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Most likely. Yeah.
Definitely. So it will probably go back to, it doesn't mean Pilates not working. It means we might need to tweak the nutrition side of it a little bit too. Because if we're not burning as much, like doing the cardio, and we're not stressing our body as much, then I might need a little less to eat too. Okay. And let's dive into stress. And so I know the jobs, the blended family, and just being busy and not having time to yourself and your mom. So tell me a little bit more about the stress and maybe how that impacts your eating, or if there's any emotional eating.
Oh, it definitely does. And so sometimes like I'll be at work and sometimes I won't get a chance to eat because it's just so busy. And instead of probably taking a couple minutes just to step back, to eat a little snack that I could probably do, I just don't eat. And then by the time I can eat, I'm just like binge eating at that point because I'm starving and I'm stressed out. And then I even can recognize it at home. Like I'll start off the morning doing pretty well. Like I'll have my protein coffee. I try to eat high protein foods just to keep me fuller. And I try to focus on, vegetables, getting enough vegetables in. But I can tell by the time like 3 o'clock rolls around, I'm exhausted and I just want a nice coffee or something sweet just to keep me going. So what I've done at home and at work, what I try to do is just eat a couple of dates just to get a little sugar boost instead of reaching for like a Starbucks coffee or candy. So, but I can feel myself like, oh, I really feel like I need something just to keep going.
Yeah. And so when you're home and 3 p.m., you're feeling exhausted, is that like physical exhaustion, as in like I haven't had enough sleep? Is that mental exhaustion? What is that?
I'm probably all of the above, just depending on how the day's going. So I definitely don't get enough sleep. So when I'm go to work, when I'm on my days of work, I'll try to be asleep between like 9:30 and 10, and then I'll get up at 2. When I have days off, I'll go to sleep probably around 10 and then be up by 4 o'clock. Just because I feel like I have to have like this morning routine. And where I live, it's really, really getting hot. I think yesterday was 90 degrees. Summers here are like 110, 120. So I feel like I need to wake up early to walk my dogs. So that's one of the reasons I get up early. The other reason is I'd like to kind of straighten things out before I go to work. It's pretty stressful. My husband's very like OCD with certain things. And I feel like I kind of have to straighten things out before I leave because, I have teenagers and stuff, and sometimes they'll leave stuff on the counter or leave things in the sink, and I just know it's going to stress him out. And rather than hearing him complain about it, it's just easier for me to get up a little bit earlier to, kind of fix it. And it's not a big mess, but it's just like, little things that I feel like stressed out about that I have to take care of. So,
Yeah. And so it sounds like you also, because that doesn't sound like enough sleep.
mhm.
And it doesn't feel like enough sleep to you either.
Mm.
And that might be one of the first things you need to start with
Okay.
because you're feeling exhausted. Like, and of course you're feeling exhausted when first we have to make sure we have enough sleep. Like so much recovery in our body happens then. Our ability to tolerate stress can widen when we've had enough sleep, right? Like when we're sleep deprived, we just feel more cranky.
Mm.
And especially like cortisol is going to up, when we're not getting enough sleep. Even our like female hormones. How old are you?
I'm 44.
44. And so are you still getting your cycle?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so when we're not getting enough sleep, like, so during perimenopause, estrogen's going up and down, but overall it's like slowly going down. Progesterone's like this steady decline. And so those can get even more out of whack too when we're higher stressed and we're not sleeping as much too.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
Overall, our body just doesn't like it. It doesn't function well. So let's see if you can brainstorm some ways to increase the amount of time you can get sleep.
Well, like you said, like if I only really need like 30 minutes of like exercise, I could cut that time. I could probably, and I've been thinking about, I could even work out on my days off and just not work out on the days that I have to go to work. And maybe since walking the dogs is important to me, I can just prioritize doing that. And that's movement in the morning. So on the days that I do have to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I was working 12-hour shifts, which you're gone longer than 12 hours when you work 12-hour shifts, I may not do exercise on those days. And that's okay. And it goes back to what I was saying with the Pilates. So if you're not exercising, you might still go for a walk or do something like that, or you're walking around the hospital a lot, I may not need as much food either. And so if we can also start to pay attention to our body. So some days I just notice I'm a little more hungry. Some days I'm also not as hungry. So we really have to tune into our body, like how much food do we actually need instead of eating just a set amount. Or we also talk a little bit later, like the emotional eating where we're just eating more than we need for no reason. Okay, so you can sort of cut that on the days you work. So cutting that exercise time a little bit, still prioritizing walking the dogs. And also tell me to stretch you a little bit, even the days you don't walk or you don't work, you're still waking up at 4 a.m. So how could we sleep in a little bit longer on those days?
Like I said, it's pretty hot here. I mean, maybe on the days that I'm off, I can maybe walk the dogs at night when the sun goes down.
Okay.
Instead of getting up super early.
Yeah. And so if you didn't have to walk the dogs in the morning, what time could you sleep until?
Oh, I leave the house by 5:30. I feed them and I eat a little something. Probably like 4:30, like an hour before I gotta go would be sufficient.
And where do you go on the days you're not working?
Oh, I thought you meant on the days that I am working.
Oh. Yeah, the days you're not working.
I mean, now it's going to be summer, so the kids don't have school, so I really don't have anywhere to be until my son does his theater camp, which is going to be in July, and he'll start at 7:30 in the morning in July.
Okay.
So,
okay. And so maybe on those days that you're not working, sleeping in a little bit longer so that you can catch up on some of that sleep and really let your body recover.
Okay.
And I don't, when you go to walk the dog, how long of a walk is it?
About like 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay. And it could even potentially be like, so we used to live in Arizona, so it was like super, super hot there.
Yeah.
And like no trees, so there's like no shade. Not humid like where you are, but it was dry, but it was still hot. But you could also split that walk up shorter. So maybe you're going to sleep in some. And so maybe you're only going to do 15 or 20 minutes in the morning, and then you could do the rest at night. So it might be something splitting that up too, but really prioritizing sleep and rest. So any thoughts on just that idea of really prioritizing sleep and rest? Any resistance to that?
Not really. I mean, I really feel like I'm exhausted. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, it's worthwhile giving it a shot, a try. I mean, I was doing that whole routine just so I could I really felt like I was doing what was best for my body and for myself, but it just honestly, since November, it's not working. I'm just too tired.
Yeah, and we have to just be like scientists, like we're running little experiments too. Like, okay, that didn't work. That exhausted and has depleted me more. How can I tweak this? Like sometimes even though things are good, like going for a morning walk, like do I have to let that go a little bit, or am I just going to shorten it to 15 minutes because I know that I'm exhausted? And I mean, it's totally understandable why you're exhausted, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. And so how about next we dive into sort of stress eating, sugar cravings. So give me some examples there of what that looks like for you.
Well, like I said, like the 3 o'clock slump, I'm wanting something sweet or I need caffeine. I really feel like I rely heavily on caffeine. I kind of cut out my pre-workout in the morning because it just made me feel more anxious. But I do have probably about 2 cups of coffee a day. And I think what it is, though, is I'm craving more of the sugar, especially in the afternoon, than the actual caffeine in coffee, honestly.
Yeah. And when you're at home on those days and you get that 3 p.m. like exhausted feeling and you're sort of craving a sugar, what are you doing then? Like, do you have the ability to rest or take a 20-minute nap?
So what I'm doing, because it's during the school year, I'm busy. So I'm picking up kids and I'm running them around to their activities. So I don't have a chance to kind of take a rest at that time. So what I'll do if I'm at home, we'll get home and then I'll make myself a nice coffee, maybe. And then when I have something sweet, I feel like I need something salty. So maybe, and I've switched over to kind of like protein chips, and I'll have a couple of protein chips. And then it's back in the car with gear and let's go to your activities. And then I run around, and then we come back home, and then I make dinner, and then we eat dinner, then we clean up after dinner. And then by then I'm done, tired.
Yeah. And okay, and you're moving into summer schedule?
Yes.
And so for the most part, will you be home in the afternoon now for the summer?
Yeah. On my days off, I will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll just talk about what's happening now, summer schedule, but I would even say with the school year to do something preventative. So like, let's say you leave at 3 to go get the kids, like maybe at 2:00 or 1:00, you're taking a rest or something. So ideally, if we're getting your sleep better and you're working on that, this afternoon exhaustion will hopefully get better too. There's probably some mental exhaustion we could talk about too, but from the physical standpoint, it should improve. But it's also okay if in the middle of the afternoon you are feeling exhausted. Like, that's okay. And what you're doing is your body knows that if you have sugar or a carb, that it's going to give you a hit of dopamine. It's going to give you a little pick me up. Our brain knows that. And so it knows what to seek. It knows what makes it feels better. But sometimes we're resisting this exhausted and tired feeling, even though it's real.
Yeah.
So in this summer schedule, like, what do you think you could do at some point in the afternoon? You almost want to get it like before it hits too hard. So maybe some point between 1 and 3, can you literally lay down and take a 20-minute nap? Sometimes I'll do Insight Timer. It's a free app. You can upgrade to a paid version, but you can use the free. They have like yoga nidra, but it's really just like a meditation. So you could do like a relaxing meditation. You could obviously not listen to anything, but what can you do to actually like fully rest your body for whatever amount of time you can decide?
I mean, I could try to take a nap. I have a hard time falling asleep. So I feel like
That's
at
okay.
20, the 20 minutes I would spend like laying down and telling myself to go take a nap, and then I wouldn't go to sleep, and then the 20 minutes would be up. But I mean, the meditation is kind of a cool idea. I didn't even think about that. Taking hot baths for me is like really relaxing. I'll put Epsom salt, and I have my like bathtub all kind of set up how I want it with different things. So I could probably do something like that. I do have a pool and a jacuzzi. I could probably, it's just super hot outside, but I could probably go just float around in the pool for 20 minutes and try to chill out.
Yeah, those are all great ideas. And what I would do is write these down on a little list so you could decide each day. And even if you go to take a nap and you can't fall asleep, it usually still is regenerative and makes you feel better. So typically, I am not a person who can like fall asleep for a nap. But sometimes when I'm feeling exhausted like that, just literally like closing my eyes and relaxing my body, I feel so much better.
Okay.
So yeah, and you can totally, if your mind is going, that's where sort of listening to some type of meditation will be helpful too.
Okay.
So, all right. So I love that. So you could potentially take a 20-minute nap, or you can just call it a rest. It doesn't, so then you're not thinking I have to sleep.
Okay.
A meditation, a hot bath with Epsom salts, and then the pool or jacuzzi floating around. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And the episode that's going to come out next week, I'm going to dive deeper into the mindset of Rachel allowing herself to take a rest in the afternoon. So maybe you are thinking that same thing. So remember, there's links in the descriptions if you guys are looking for extra support, whether that's a health coaching call or doing a self-guided course and learning these mindset and emotional regulations tools to help you make the changes that you have been stuck with. All right, friends, have a good week and keep moving.